I wish making this video wasn't exactly painful, but it kinda is. For the longest time, I've already made a video about Pika OS, and the reason why I initially chose it because the biggest problem with Linux compared to Windows is more tedious and more longer to set up. Now previously I did say Pika OS is easier to use, and I did say Debian was harder to set up. I decided to revisit that because I didn't feel like I gave it a proper chance. Because that last test I didn't even get Steam to run properly. And today was an experience, to be honest, but I wouldn't say it's painful, just bloody annoying is the best way to put it. But why was it hard? Let's start from what happens when you already install it. Now, when you start, your software manager does not get this because the Flatpak repository has not yet been installed. And how do you install that repository? Well, by going through this, the Debian quick setup. You have to follow all of this to the apt install Flatpak. Since you are on GNOME, you are GNOME software, but if you're on KDE, you have to use Plasma Discovery. Discovery is the software manager of KDE. And at the FlatHub repository, this is important, and then restart your computer before you can actually use your software. So that is a big downgrade compared to Pika OS, where the repository is already immediately installed during the installation. But I digress. Now to Steam. Steam was the most painful task that I had to install because of one reason. If you're going to install it through FlatHub, it's not going to work as well because it's not too stable, and it was supposed to be an way to install Steam through non-Ubuntu based distros. Now, how do you install Steam on Debian? Well, I am going to link a tutorial on how to install it. A tutorial made by another guy. But essentially, you need to go to the packet list at the architecture i368 and have something in the terminal change. Well, not in the terminal, one of the notes. So if I go to my terminal, I did a lot of testing, as you can tell. The source list. Now, in order to get the version of Steam, the latest, you're going to have to change something here. So, and the biggest problem here is that, as you just read on the red text there, it's not meant to be right. You cannot write it here. So if you're going to through this process, I recommend you go to your root and then run the sources list. Then you can update and add the word contra between the words main and non-free. Do this about 6 times on the source code. And if you, I prefer using Nano. People use Vim, but Nano is much more better because you can instantly type in and without have to go through another keystrokes just to use it. And it's simple as Control O, enter, and then exit. And then once that is finished, you can just follow here. For an AMD 6468 system, enable multi-arch, this is what I had to do. So apt update, apt install Steam installer. If your AMD 64 system, additional libraries need to install for Vulkan and 32-bit, and here's the, so you can just Control C, and then once you're in the terminal, Control V. Now you can see why I did say that on Pika OS, because this is the type of medium in absolute hardship a person who is new to Linux have to go through. Not just to understand the operating system, but understanding just the basics of having something to run properly. Now, this is why I will never say Linux will take over Windows. Windows, you don't even have to go through the terminal that much. And even with the new distros, and even with people finding workarounds, it's still not going to be as popular, because what about the normal people? The people who just want to pick it up and play. People don't want to consider those people because they think they're dumb and having a superiority complex. But they exist, and they are the reason why Windows is as popular as it now, because it's simple to use. With a click of a button, boom, you don't even need to think about it, just download.exe, done. And simplicity will always be Linux's not downfall, just main wall that's stopping them from being the top of the list when it comes to anything else. While gaming may be on the rise, productivity is not. For productivity, I'm going to make a separate video, but suffice to say that is just part of the biggest tedious part of having a Linux distribution. But with me saying that, would I still recommend someone going through the same experience I did? Yes. Mainly because I feel like what I just went through was tedious, but it wasn't hard. And knowing the community, there is YouTube videos, there's always people who always want to make this distribution more accessible. Windows 11 has been making all the wrong moves in terms of their marketing, their AI features, their ways of making people use their AIs, advertisements. Linux exists so we people at least have an option to fall back to if we are start getting annoyed or getting problems. At the very least, in Linux, you're not going to see your operating system update automatically or being forced to update. But with that being said, it's still going to be long before Linux can be generally accepted. I am still going to continue learning Linux as I go, making this video. Even after this, I am going to talk more about Linux distributions, Linux computing, and basically just making Linux understandable for the general use base. So I hope you enjoyed this little update, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll be talking about Linux in the workspace. See ya.